Have you ever wished that you had a master floral designer that you could have stand beside you step by step and teach you the process of floral design? My name is Kirby Holt. I'm a master floral designer with more than 25 years of experience in the business, and I want to show you step by step how to create beautiful floral designs with the kits from myfloraldesign.com. I hope you enjoy this video and this series. Hi, I'm excited that you've joined me today for another floral design demonstration. I have a really interesting arrangement to show you today that will use orchids and branches to create a beautiful arch of contemporary design that can be used in a lot of different places in your home. I'm going to start with these white oncidium orchids, Phalaenopsis orchids, and I'm going to take just maybe the last 4 inches of the stem and trim with my knife and get most of that plastic coating off. By doing so, it allows me to bend just like a hook right into the end of that, and as I insert that hook into the very outside edge of the styrofoam, which is already glued into the container for you, it will lock it. The hook there locks it, and as I begin to pull this orchid stem around and create that arch, it'll stay where I put it. If you didn't have that hook arched onto the end of it, it would swivel and would not stay in place. But by doing that arch, that hook on the end of it, it allows it to hold that arch form, which is what we want to do. Now I'm going to take the second one and do the same thing, just about 4 inches of that plastic coating trimmed off of the end, and then bend the hook in. I'm going to go from the opposite side and push that one in and bring that one in. Let's see here. To create the other half of this arch. And as we're bending those, we want to be careful that we aren't getting corners, that everything is a soft flow, and you can see how those kind of just flow right together. Now I want to take the third stem, and I'm not going to trim quite as much off of it because I want to keep as much of the height as I can and get it up as tall as I can. So I've gone with a little bit of a shorter hook, and I'm going to come in right beside the one I just inserted and put it in. And one of the things that we should do is make sure that the orchid is facing out so that as we lay it in, it lays in and the face of that little orchid comes and shows up where we want it to. So we've kind of created a triple level of those orchids where one is just stacked on top of the other, and by putting those hooks into the ends of it, those orchids are sitting right in there where we want them to. Now I have several branches, and this is kind of a birch branch look or a vine that we are going to use to enhance the flow of and create movement. I love the way these orchids already are creating so much interest and so much movement while they aren't actually moving. Just the way they are placed in implies movement, and that's what we're trying to achieve, and I think that this works really well with this particular piece. Now the stems of the branches have wire inside, and just gently just keep curling and curving and shaping because we want everything to kind of curve and flow into each other. It creates a lot of interest there. I'm going to do another one. I've got one on the back side, and I'm going to do one on the front side and just continue to bend that, twist it, and let those branches kind of run up in with the orchids. That will also help kind of make the orchids more stationary because the branches are helping to hold those in place, and a little bit of movement is okay, but you don't want them wandering off out of the arrangement where they don't need to be. And another thing that those branches do is gives everything kind of a real natural feel, makes them look real and not manufactured. So again, taking the third one of those branches and bending it in and just gently working those wires inside the branches and creating that flow, trying to get the softness of the line curved in And then we can also use those branches worked right up as if they were vines growing into orchids. Florida, and any of the tropical areas, I live in Florida, and we have orchids that are native to our area. Sometimes you can be in the woods and just find beautiful orchids growing, but especially in the Caribbean and Hawaii, so many wonderful orchids grow, and you can find them growing in nature, and often there'll be vines all grown up with them. And so this arrangement that we're doing really kind of mimics nature, and the most effective flower arrangements really do that. We study nature and decide, how can I take what God has done, what nature has done, and adopt that and bring that style into my flower arrangement. So I'm going to just turn that, and you can see what I've done on the back side is very similar to what we have on the front side here. I'll just keep working it and manipulating. I think we may actually take this bottom orchid and just drop it down just a hair more and let it lay in just a little bit lower so that we get the full impact from them. Another thing that you'll want to do, once you get it placed, you'll want to kind of turn it sideways and make sure that you're fairly straight on, that you're not leaning one way or the other. You want those center orchids to be standing fairly straight, and then you can adjust the sticks and twigs accordingly. Now, I do have this one orchid popped out the front just a little bit, and I like that. I think that it creates a little interest because, again, in nature, it's not too perfect and not too contrived. Now we have this open base at the bottom, and we don't want to fill it in too much because this is really where we want the eye to go, to the line of the orchid. So we're just going to use this foliage in low to finish off the bottom and just create just a little bit of a floor inside the container to base out the arrangement. And I will take all of these stems and cut them again so that we have shorter pieces. I don't want that stem to come up. If we were to do it like this, it would come up too tall, and I want to keep it fairly low. So we're going to cut all of these right in the center, just at the top of that bottom set of leaves. And that way we can keep the wire stem inside, makes a good insertion stem for us, and we're able to use that to push into the styrofoam. So I think I've got all of those cut, and this is just a quick, easy finish to finish off the arrangement. I want to make sure that I get these two edges done well so that we hide where we inserted those orchids and branches. So I've covered those nicely, and now I'll just kind of equally throughout this whole center area distribute all of these little pieces. And this is actually a eucalyptus, but it's a nice kind of frosty color, and it works well with the white of the orchid and the color of the container. It's always important that the color of your container work well with the elements that you're using in your arrangement. We wouldn't want one color container and a different color bloom. So by getting something that works well together, it's a lot more pleasing to the eye. And a nice thing about a white orchid, you can use it in almost any room. It's one of those elements that very few places would not allow you to use something like this to decorate. So if you're thinking about a gift idea, this is a wonderful gift because it is something that almost anyone can find a place in their home to use it. Thank you for joining us. I hope that you've enjoyed this today, and look forward to seeing you with more of our demonstrations on myfloraldesign.com. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you've enjoyed this presentation. I encourage you to browse the library of arrangements and videos on our website, myfloraldesign.com.